The Virgin Suicides is a 1999 film directed by Sofia Coppola. In the mid-70s, a young girl named Cecilia Lisbon attempts to kill herself. She and her sisters live in a strict household in which they are carefully monitored by their parents. Cecilia tries again, this time committing suicide. In the aftermath, the parents crack down on their daughters even more, limiting their access to the outside world. After relenting for only one night to allow them to come to a dance, one daughter, Lux, does not make it home until morning. This results in an even greater and more thorough lockdown, even taking the daughters out of school. As all of this happens, neighborhood boys try to make contact with them. They find a diary, they read from it, they call the house, but they find that they still do not understand the minds of the daughters. One evening, the boys go over to their house in hopes of taking them driving, but discover that the daughters have all committed suicide, not leaving a note or giving any explanation of why. In the future, the boys still discuss it from time to time, never comprehending what happened that night.
What are you doing here, honey? You're not even old enough to know how bad life gets.
Obviously, Doctor. You've never been a 13-year-old girl.
Over the course of the film, the boys admit that they cannot do justice to the Lisbon girl's story. When they read from Cecilia's journal, the adult narrator, the voice of one of the boys in the future, remarks that the girls have the boys all figured out, but the opposite is not true, that the girls will always be a mystery to them. They speak of the girls as dreamers, as magical. When the girls are still in school, one boy makes a half-hearted attempt to speak to one of them, but immediately gives up. The mystery of women is a self-fulfilling prophecy of men, assuming too great a difference, relying on the mythology of the mysterious female mind, and not actually just talking as equals. When the girls are taken out of school, the boys spend a week thinking of elaborate plans to communicate with them, and no idea is direct. One idea was to tie a kite to a banner, a plan that the narrator said had logistical problems. It takes them a week to decide what to do. Just call them on the phone. Even when they do, the boys communicate only in songs from records instead of pleading for information. They are clueless, but the film only hints at the fact that their cluelessness is entirely their doing, and not the byproduct of these allegedly mysterious girls. Because of all of this, the boys are unreliable narrators. The boys' knowledge of the girls is tied to what they can see, but this means their gaze ends at the surface. The neighborhood boys have no more idea what goes on inside the girls' minds than they can see thoughts. They stare through telescopes and binoculars. This is their insight, only visual, only physical. When the boys describe the girls, they use photographic language, and these images of the girls are useless without context and substance. The girls' strict Catholic upbringing is shown in visuals, in symbols. In Christianity, Mary was made pregnant by God, though she was still a virgin. Mary, in many ways, is a passive figure for God's will, much in the way that the girls, all seemingly virgins at the beginning of the film, are also passive figures in their home, their parents controlling every aspect of their lives. The Bible prophesizes Mary's role, just as the boys reveal the ending of the story at the start. The strict control of their parents, hiding the girls in their home, creates an atmosphere of psychological harm and uncertainty. The borders that the parents put up end up being the undoing of the girls. Cecilia commits suicide by fleeing herself onto a fence. The physical border in place of the psychological border that the parents put up between their daughters and the outside world. The daughters have limits to their knowledge. The parents put up these walls, these borders, and ultimately, Cecilia kills herself on such a border. In the neighborhood, trees are cut down to prevent a disease from spreading. When the town tries to cut down the Lisbon girls' tree, they surround it. The connection between the health of the Lisbon family and the trees are clear. Both are gradually dying, and the girls, though they eventually commit suicide, are trying to hang on to something from their lives. We see the tree at pivotal moments in the film, like this one in which Lux comes home late from the prom after losing her virginity. The father lives in obliviousness. He cannot or does not try to connect to people on an individual or emotional basis. When Cecilia dies and the priest comes to visit, the father can only talk about sports. When he finds Cecilia, he says nothing. He's a teacher, and he lives in facts, but he finds no practical use for them. When he talks about his own interests and people walk away, he keeps talking. Ignorance is half of what is needed for tragedy to strike in this home. The mother is harsh and vindictive. She provides no warmth for her daughters. She is the other half of what is needed. In this scene, the father teaches the class Venn diagrams. He is A, the mother is B, and the intersection is the dangerous atmosphere they have created for their daughters. The boys' superficial investigation into the lives of the girls and their motives behind their suicides may be personal and specific, but the exploration of love and loss is more universal. The deaths are tragic not only for the obvious reason, but because they occur in an unremarkable setting and with unremarkable motives. Rather than the boys sorting through the evidence of a grand caper or heist or mass murder plot, they sort through the trappings of ordinary life. The suicides are terrible, of course, but the boys and indeed the rest of the town reacts as if it is just another story in the newspaper. When Cecilia dies, the boys simply walk away, not offering comfort to the family or running for help or reacting much at all. This is a suburban town, and suburban towns operate on the none of our business principle. They eventually make it their business, but again only through superficial evidence and watching Lux have sex on her roof rather than, say, calling Child Protective Services to look in on the girl's home life. When the boys make these ordinary girls into mysterious creatures in their minds, they are lying to themselves. These are ordinary girls. When Cecilia dies, the school has an assembly, but everything is done in a sanitized, uninvolved way, so that no real progress is made and no real insight is gained. It's perfunctory, something expected of them, but that is all.
None of my daughters lacked for any love. There was plenty of love in our house.
One might claim that the mystery of the suicides is not that mysterious. The Libsyn girls obviously had a challenging home life, and teenage suicide is common. However, that ignores the more complicated catalysts for suicide. People mistakenly think that those who are depressed and have suicidal ideation are just sad, or going through a difficult period, but suicidal ideation is often a combination of genetic, physical, and environmental risk factors. Everything from low levels of neurotransmitters, dopamine, and serotonin, to a history of mental illness in the family, to a bombardment of life-changing events. The boys' search for evidence of what happened will always be fruitless because they can never look into the girls' minds. They keep searching for some tangible reason, like some origin story that will completely explain the unexplainable. When you're young, when you're in high school, your mind believes that this is life. Your mind has no basis for comparison. It can't even comprehend the fact that this is a brief, minor stop along the road. Teenagers know logically, if you ask them, that they will grow up and that none of this will be important anymore, but it's hard to separate the logical from what feels like the only life they have known. It is the totality of what they have experienced. So if life is awful in high school, the mind plays tricks and makes one think that life just is awful. The Libsyn girls don't know anything about life except their suffocating home. This is life. This is all they've known. This is all there is. In the future, the boys, now grown, all talk about the Libsyn girls from time to time, according to the narrator. They look back and they are confused because they are looking at physical evidence, but have forgotten what it feels like to be that young. The feeling that this is all there is. And of course they are still all obsessed with it. How can you mourn something you don't understand? Hi everyone, if you like what I do, consider clicking on the orange Patreon link below. That's how this show happens. It's also a way for you to request an episode, so check it out. See you next week.